Hello, Cubs fans, and welcome to a brand new edition of Cubs on Tap. I know you're probably looking around on the live stream right now and wondering, Ron, where the hell are you? I am in my room. Nothing exciting, unfortunately. But what is exciting is talking about a Cubs series win. Obviously, on Sunday today, when I am recording this now, Cubs got their doors blown off, and shit happens, right? Shit happens. Unfortunately, that's the nature of the beast. But good news for the Cubs. They are coming off a series victory with wins on Friday and Saturday. Both of those backed by incredible pitching performances from both Marcus Stroman and then Kyle Hendricks on Saturday. Before we get into everything, remember, head over to the YouTube here for On Tap Sportsnet, as well as the Facebook page. Like, subscribe, whatever it is. And for YouTube, make sure you hit the little ding-a-ling bell button because that, ladies and gentlemen, will tell you when we go live, as well as all the other great shows we have here at On Tap Sportsnet. So we encourage you to do that. That way you can join us here in the conversation. If you're watching along on Twitter, we certainly appreciate you just as much. But if you want to get involved in the conversation, be sure to check out the Facebook or YouTube pages. Let's talk baseball, shall we? Let's talk the good, because I'm not even super concerned about today's game, and we'll get to today's game at some point. But incredible start on Friday from the one, the only Mr. Marcus Stroman. He does it again, and we need to address perhaps the elephant in the room when it comes to Marcus Stroman, and here's why. Because Friday's performance backs up why he needs to be a Cub. And sure, there might be people out there that are saying, well, what if he priced himself out, Ron? What if he never gets better than this? That's a fair argument. Truly, it is a fair argument, but we don't know the details. For those that might not completely understand where I'm going with this, at least at the moment, on what feels like Friday, I believe it ultimately ended up being Saturday morning that the comment really started to generate some buzz on social media, was Marcus Stroman's reply to Chief Cub on Twitter about extension talks with the Cubs. And Stroman pretty much verbatim said that he and his agent had approached the Cubs with interest in extension. Clearly, Marcus has shown that he wants to be here. He wants to be a Chicago Cub. And he said that the franchise was not interested. And I don't know about anybody else, but that absolutely rubs me the wrong way, because if you go out of your way to bring in Dansby Swanson, if you go out of your way to tell your fan base, shit, 4 of the 5 of us here at Cubs on Tap were sitting in that audience at CubsCon back in January, being told by Ricketts and Jed and Carter and everybody else that this was a playoff caliber team. If you're not interested in keeping quality starting pitching around, to me, that's an issue. To me, that's concerning as a fan, that you're not going to potentially want to spend money. Then I know the other side of the argument, and this was something that I discussed at nauseum with my dad just over the weekend. On Saturday, we were talking about this point, and it's one thing if they're saying, "Hey, we aren't interested in extension because we're going full throttle, knee deep, hip deep, balls to the walls for a guy like Shohei Ohtani." Fair. If you're like, "Hey, Stroh's asking for 30 to 35 million." 30 to, we're going to need that plus another 15 to 20 to go get Shohei. I get it. Fine. I get it. But to not even want to have talks, like, at least that's how it came off from Stroman, was that the organization just didn't even want to discuss the idea of an extension. Now, whether that's completely true or not, we don't know, right? This is he said, she said. But if it's truly that way, right? If it's truly, hey, we just don't want to talk about an extension, that's flawed. Because if you're the team thinking he's going to just take his player option for next year at $21 million, which is a pay drop from what he's making right now, he's currently making 25 this year. That's incredibly naive of both ownership and the front office if they really think that's going to happen. So if you are the Cubs, just have the conversation at least. It's one thing if he prices himself out of where you guys want to pay. It's one thing if the sides can't agree on term, shit like that. At least if you have the discussion, it's a little more forgivable, I think, as a fan, if things don't work out and Marcus Stroman is not here beyond this season. But as things stand, I'm looking right now. All right. Pardon me for looking down on the live stream, but I have numbers here for y'all. 6 2/3, 2 earned. I don't care what his strikeout and walk numbers are because they're consistently about the same. He usually doesn't walk more than maybe 3. He usually strikes out 6 to 7, 5 to 6, maybe even on a nightly basis. But that's fine. Stroh's game is exactly what we've seen. It's keep the ball down, let your defense play behind you, and win ball games. And he has been doing that lately. He's quality start after quality start after quality start. He's got like the longest streak right now in the league of guys that, or at least the most amount of games where they win at least 6 innings and gave up less than 2 runs or 2 or less. It's frustrating. That was kind of what bittered my weekend a little bit, to be honest with you. Great weekend overall, right? I think we all had fun. I hope everybody listening to this also had a good weekend. But from a baseball fandom perspective, like I almost didn't watch Saturday's game as a result because I was very frustrated with the organization, very frustrated with the team. And we'll get to Saturday in a minute. I'm happy I watched the whole game actually, but I think really going into the day, it really kind of soured me. And Tyler, my friend, unable to join me tonight, but coming in through the comments, he says the scary thing about the quote from this weekend was, quote unquote, despite his efforts, talking about Stroman trying to talk to the front office, he made an effort to talk. It's scary, Ron, scary. And I completely agree, Tyler. Stroman wants to be here. Like that tweet very clearly told me as a fan, Stroh loves Wrigley. Stroh loves the Cubs. Stroh wants to be here. It's different here, right? This has been a slogan in Cubs Twitter for 2 to 3 seasons now, because it is. Wrigley is a unique ballpark to play in. The Cubs are a unique franchise to play for. Probably one of the most loyal fan bases that you're going to find in any professional sport, let alone in baseball. And like hearing that's a spit in the face from the team. It's not even from Stroh, right? It's not like Stroh's sitting here like, I don't want to be here. Fuck you guys. No, Stroh wants to be here. And yet this team is just magically finding ways to mess things up. And my talking comrade from the weekend, my dad here in the comments, pitching is crucial. Why not want him back? Agreed, completely agreed. And literally, folks, I can tell you right now, my mom probably wanted to just absolutely lose her brain this weekend because all we did for 2.5 hours in the pool on Saturday afternoon was talk baseball. That was the topic of conversation. A little hockey talk sprinkled in there, and that's probably a little bit of a preview for us tomorrow. As the plan is, there's a Four Feather show on the way, folks. So if you're a Blackhawks fan, be sure to tune into that tomorrow. But like it's mind-boggling because again, 6 2/3, 6 hits, just the 2 earned runs, lowers his ERA. His ERA now sits at a very pretty 2.42 overall in the season. And then you got good pitching from the bullpen because it was a close game, because it was high leverage situations. Ross went to his guys that he trusts. You got great pitching out of Mark Leiter Jr. Went 1 1/3 there, didn't give up any runs. And then Alzolay comes in for the save. That's his 3rd of the year. And you know, going back to a point my dad brought up, and it was a great point. And completely in agreement. Even when a guy like Cody Hoyer returns to this bullpen at some point here in the not so distant future, he and Alzolay really are making the case to just be the 8-9 guys. Use them interchangeably, use them however you guys, the team wants. They're both going to be good enough to pitch at the back end of this bullpen. We've seen it already from a guy like Cody Hoyer because of what he did in 2021 when he came over in the trade from the Chicago White Sox. Obviously, terrible that he missed all of 2022 with Tommy John. But now we're going to see a healthy him. We already know he's pumping 99 down in AAA right now. It's going to be great having him at the back of the bullpen. And then Alzolay just looks like the best version of himself right now. And he certainly did that and proved that in Friday's game. I think another thing worth mentioning was how good Seiya Suzuki was in Friday's game. 3 hits. He was also walked once and scored a run. He has been good. He is keeping it up. Really the best bat consistently right now on this team. It was really unfortunate to not have him in the lineup on Saturday and Sunday. They've really haven't disclosed what he's got going on. He's just got some lagging injuries. Every prayer in my body is hoping it's not that oblique coming back to mess with him again, because that's all we need is you can ask our friends over at Sox on Tap. They dealt with this last season with another one of their should-be star players in Yoan Moncada. He never was fully healthy because of that oblique all season. The last thing this Cubs team needs right now is a not healthy Seiya Suzuki when you already are missing a guy like Belly, and you craving him to get back from an offensive standpoint. And really, your big three that at the top of the lineup were carrying this team in April have gone ultimately cold. Dansby's gone a little cold now. Nico's gone a little cold, although he came through in the pinch hit on Friday with those 2 big RBIs. And Happ has just been almost non-existent as well. And yes, thank you for reminding me here, Dad. He says, don't forget about the Tauchman play from this weekend. Yeah, I mean, Tauchman, sensational defensively, really showed out in Saturday's game. Again, just kind of rounding out Friday, too. We mentioned, Hoerner, 2 hits in pinch hit opportunities, came in late in the game there for Wisdom and then played second. 2 hits, 2 ribbies for Nico Hoerner. I mean, Nico's still Nico. We know he's not going to walk a lot, but he plays great defense and he gets pretty timely hits. So, gotta love that. Big win for the Stroh Show. He's now 7-4 on the season. Alzolay with a pretty 2.10 ERA on the year as well. But Saturday's game was special. Saturday's game was special, and just as my dad brought up there in the comments, Tauchman, sensational catch in that game. Also stretched what ended up being, in my opinion, a very important double that probably should have been a single. Just really good base running from him. Aggressive, which, holy shit, the one thing we've been begging this team to be is aggressive, because at least if you're aggressive and you make mistakes, I'll take an aggressive mistake over a passive mistake 20 times out of 10 in any sport, let alone in a sport like baseball. You get in that instance with Tauchman at the plate, Madrigal walks, which if you would have told me Madrigal would have walked in consecutive games, I would have told you were lunacy and you should buy a lottery ticket. If you did, good on you. But Madrigal gets on, walks, Tauchman with the hit. Should have probably been a single, but Madrigal goes first to third. Tauchman slides in just in time at second. You got 2 runners in scoring position for Christopher Morel there, who drove in his second and third runs of the game. But the youth, I think that was the biggest thing with Saturday's win. The youth came through for a anemic offense. Anemic offense. Madrigal, I'll call him youth, right? He doesn't have a ton of playing time in the major leagues. If you look at the course of his career, yes, he's been around for a while, but total games, he's still very much considered a young player. And for him to walk, which is weird in itself, but then Tauchman to come through with a big hit, Morel drives them in a clutch spot, hitting in that 3 spot, playing right field in the absence of Seiya Suzuki. And then he had the Oppo Taco earlier in the game, obviously, that just got out. And Mervis hit an absolute tank shot into McCovey Cove. Really just set the tone for this Cubs team. 4 runs was all they needed to, right? 4 runs was all they needed. And agreed, Scott, I'm absolutely there with you, brother. I'm going to probably bitch about this for at least 5 minutes here in short order. Can we get any sort of regular offense? Agreed. 3 runs, 4 runs, 3 runs. That was what this Cubs teams produced in this series. Consistent offense is absolutely what this team needs, and they currently do not have any of. And Tyler coming through here with some numbers from me in the comments says Ian Happ in just his last 16 games is slashing 167, 313, 204. Yeah, he's got a great on-base percentage because he walks a lot. But like right now, that's all he's doing. He's not slugging, as that 204 number very clearly indicates, and he's not getting any kind of hits. He's very passive. Friend of the program, friend of ours here over at OnTap Sportsnet, Mr. Jake Bunowski over with the Dinger Boys, brought it up on Twitter recently. As I was scrolling through the Bluebird app. Try saying that 10 times fast. That Happ is just being too passive at the plate, and I think that further echoes what I said about Tauchman. Seeing an aggressive play is refreshing for a team right now that feels very passive, especially on the offensive side of things. Continuing here with some of the stats from Tyler, that slash line combined with 54 at-bats, just 9 hits, 2 doubles, no home runs, only 4 runs driven in over that time. He says, who is Ian Happ? Could we see him get benched when Belly comes back? Spicy take, but maybe we do see 2 games without Ian Happ in the lineup. I think a lot of that is indicative of what is going on from a Seiya Suzuki standpoint in his health. I think if he's healthy, sure. I think there's a world where they let Christopher Morel play 2 games out in left field to give Ian Happ a blow and let him just reset his mind and whatever it is he needs to do, because he's in a bad slump. And If we're talking contracts and we're talking money and we're talking this team not wanting to pay guys like Marcus Stroman, when you're paying a guy like Ian Happ $20 million a year to be the guy, 167, 313, 204 ain't going to do it. That ain't going to do it. And, not to say I don't love the player. I still love Ian Happ. Do I think he can turn it around? 100%. But they really need these big bats to come through, right? Even a guy like Dansby Swanson truly has struggled a little bit recently, and it's very discouraging. Truly, I mean, after today's game, he's in the 740s in OPS right now. I know he's not a guy that walks a ton, but like he's not even hitting the ball right now, and that slug number's down because we have not seen a lot of power out of Dansby Swanson, who is very much historically a power hitter. Does a lot of that probably help playing in a deeper lineup? 100%. I think that's why having a guy like Bellinger back is so important right now for this offense. But as Juice has pointed out on past shows, you can't rely on just one guy to be the cog in your wheel that is this offense. They need more than that. And you need guys like Ian Happ to come through. It's good to see a guy like Nico Hoerner. Nico Hoerner is never going to be an 800 OPS player just because the slug I don't think is ever going to be there, and he does not walk a lot. But as long as he's continuing to hit 280-ish, close to 300, then he's serving his role of what he's getting paid to do. But Ian Happ needs to step up. Ian Happ was thrust into this, kind of middle of the lineup last season because of the lack of talent on the 2022 Cubs roster, and he thrived. 17 home runs, 42 doubles. He was sensational for this Cubs team a year ago. 76 RBI, I believe, was his final number, and he hit 270. That Ian Happ is worth $20 million in today's MLB, especially when you add in the fact that he's got a gold glove to his name. 167, 313, 50, or 204, pardon me, does not get that done. As Scott also points out here in the comments, at points in April, we had 6 or 7 players hitting over 300. Today, we have 0. Correct. The Cubs have 0 players hitting over 300. As a matter of fact, the closest, I believe, and unfortunately, folks, for those that are maybe watching and wondering why I'm struggling with stats right now, I'll show you the fun thing I did to my phone this week. You see that big white line? Yeah, that's a crack in my screen. It's finally bit the dust. Ron Luce is in for shopping for a new phone this week. So that's the fun you get to look forward for when you guys are doing something hopefully productive with your Cubs off days, and not watching this offense just want to make you bash your head off a wall. I will be ordering a new phone because this is already driving me nuts. Nonetheless, there are not a lot of guys right now offensively for this Cubs team that are getting it done. And again, Seiya Suzuki is truly one of those few guys right now. Seeing him get hurt would be catastrophic to this Cubs offense right now, which is already anemic at this point. They just can't have it. And you know what? Good on a guy like Nick Madrigal, though, although he hasn't been elite, he hasn't been putting up crazy numbers this series. His presence on this team has made things feel a little different. It's not Patrick Wisdom coming up to plate every time and striking out 4 times a game and playing solid defense at third. He's playing fine defense at third right now, and he gives you just a different dynamic that this Cubs team doesn't have a lot of right now. It's welcomed. It's depth. It's another reason why having a guy in your organization like him is helpful right now. Do I think long-term he's your third base answer? Of course not. But for what this Cubs team needs right now, he provided some of that. And it is truly relieving, really, I think, from what we've gotten out of Nick Madrigal over the course. But let's finally get to the really good of Saturday, and that was Kyle Hendricks. Wow. That looked like classic Kyle. That brought a big smile to my face. I think every Cubs fan that remembers vintage Kyle Hendricks in 2016 and 2017 just sat back in their chairs and were refreshed seeing Kyle Hendricks do what Kyle Hendricks did. And son of a bitch, I wanted him to get that no-hitter so badly. It would have been so cool. But to take it 7 2/3, still a hell of an accomplishment. Gave you 8 innings of work. You know how you save a bad bullpen? You have your starter go 8 innings. That gets it done. That plays. That'll absolutely play. 12 times out of 10. Hendricks lowers that ERA as well in the process. He's now sitting at a real pretty 309. Again, I think noting why his presence and return in this rotation has been welcomed, especially with the Wesneski struggles, as we saw continued in Sunday's game, as well as with our friend of the program here, Justin Steele, unfortunately on the IL right now. Having Kyle Hendricks back and doing what he did was sensational. Just the one hit, only a handful of walks, didn't strike out a ton of guys, didn't matter. He was getting ground ball outs. I feel like the Jason Hayward rollover to second base to Nico Horner for the ground out was in full effect for that Giants team last night. Last night, at least while I'm recording this on Saturday. Man, Kyle looked good. Everything was working. He was getting guys to chase. He was getting guys to just take bad swings. And it worked out, man. It worked out. It was a beautiful thing to see. I'm so happy for Kyle Hendricks. I'm so happy for the Cubs because, again, they need good starting pitching performances. We've seen that out of guys like Drew Smyly so far this year. It's refreshing now to see that out of Kyle. It feels like we're starting to get it maybe a little bit out of Taillon. He teased us with that 5 2/3 on this road trip, only for him to kind of piss it away in that Angels series. They really need Steele back, though. Justin coming back, you have 4 guys that are going to give you good outings every single time in the starting rotation, and that is very, very refreshing from this team right now, and they certainly need it. Scott with another comment from us here on the YouTube saying Hendricks got so much hate, and he has just shoved it all in their face, never doubted him. Yeah, I mean, again, and this is kind of going back to the argument made a little bit earlier about a guy like Marcus Stroman and why extending him makes so much sense. He's a pitcher that's going to age well. Kyle Hendricks is kind of the same way, if you really think about it. And like, that's okay. Guys don't need to shit pump 100 to be good. These two have clearly shown it. Kyle routinely hovers around 88 with the fastball. But when he's got that changeup working and he can hit that curve and get guys to swing at it, it does not matter. And, Stroh, ironically, tweeted this too. Just said how he's an artist in a league of throwers. This is almost verbatim to what Stroh said, just a very summed up version. In a league of throwers, he is a true artist and pitcher. And it's a pleasure to watch when Kyle's on, man. And that honestly, that was another reason why I tuned in. The Mervis homer kept me interested. And I was like, all right, we'll leave this on. I'm enjoying this Cubs game so far. And then that performance out of Kyle was special. That is a game that, despite Sunday's outcome, if this team starts to go on any magical kind of run, that's a game I'm going to point to as maybe one of the turning points in the season. But even if they don't necessarily turn it around, it is still going to be one of the most memorable games from this season. I think that's up there with the Stroh complete game shutout at Wrigley on Memorial Day. I think that's up there with the opening day win. Really, that opening day win still is burned into my memory. Being in the left field bleachers for that one, it has been fun. There have been fun games from this Cubs team this year. I think that's why so many people had so much faith and so much excitement coming out of the month of April and going into early May, and why this latest stretch from, because of struggles like from guys like Happ and some of these big hitters that they need to come through. I think that's part of the reason why everybody is truly so upset where the Cubs are and with the state of the team, because of just those type of games. The Kyle Hendricks game does that, right? That gets you excited again to watch Cubs baseball. And man, he looked good. And I hope he's healthy. Again, he's a guy that ages well. He doesn't throw hard. He's going to be able to pitch well into his late 30s and still be an effective starter. Is he going to be a Cy Young level pitcher like he was in 2016? Probably not. But if you told me Kyle Hendricks is going to come out in after what was that, his 5th, 6th start now since returning from injury, he's a 3.09 ERA. Whew, sign me up. We all said if he could come out and be a 3.70 ERA pitcher for this team the rest of the season, that would be good. 3.09 is a hell of a start. 3.09 is a hell of a start. Good on Kyle. Good on the Cubbies getting a big win. That clinched the series victory on Saturday. That was the meaningful baseball that was worth giving a shit and talking about. Today's game, not so much. Today's game was ugly. Today's game was very ugly, especially because the Cubs managed to tie the game. They managed to make shit interesting. And then they also managed to just kind of piss it away. Managed to just kind of piss it away. And I don't know what's going on with Hayden, but a rough day for Hayden. Just 3 innings of work from him. He's charged with 5 earned. He himself gave up the 4, but because of the man on that Fulmer gave up the 5th run for, that is charged to Wesneski. Nonetheless, he's now at a 5.33 ERA in the season. But then Hughes got lit up today for 3 runs. Estrada got lit up for another 2, and then Javier Assad got lit up for another 3 in that 13-3 loss at the hands of the Giants. And unfortunately, returning a little bit to the negative of what we've discussed, at least a little bit here, is just the regular offense. This offense has been anemic, and it is very frustrating, truthfully, I think, as a Cubs fan, because we knew this team was going to have to pitch and play defense well, but it's the tease of April that makes it worse, right? Because they showed you, this team can hit a little bit. Maybe they can give you 5 and 6 runs. This team by the end of April already had matched or exceeded the number of games with 10 or more runs from all of last season. We thought this Cubs team was, obviously not going to keep that up, but at least be able to keep enough regular offense to give your team a chance on a nightly basis. How many times have we seen a good start from a pitcher go wasted because of bad offense? We just saw it the other night with Drew Smyly. He gave up 3 earned to the Angels. More often than not, if your pitcher's only giving up 3 runs, it's a quality start. If you're getting quality starts out of your pitchers, you at least need to be in the game. And as we discussed, Nick and I discussed on a very late episode of Cubs on Tap on Thursday night, they did not get that. They did not get that from their offense. They managed 1 run. 1 run. That's it. That's all they got. And I'll tell you, there's nobody in this system right now who's going to come up and solve their offensive woes. I think we all know that. There's nobody. Unfortunately, Brendan Davis isn't hitting great. Maybe he comes up and has a spark, but he's not hitting well. Guys that were kind of close that we thought maybe would have a chance, like Alexander Canario, he's been hurt. It further backs why you can't just bank on prospects. Yes, you need a good farm. You need to be able to have assets there, if not for anything else, than to use them as capital. Because sometimes you do have to go trade for a good player. You can't just sign everybody in free agency, especially if you have to overpay for them, which 9 times out of 10 is how free agency works. There's nobody in the system, though, right now that is ready to come and make an offensive impact at the next level. Yes, PCA has been very good down in AA. I actually just checked today. After today's game, he's currently batting .287, has over an 800 OPS. That's cool. That's tough. We like that. That's good shit. Kevin Alcantara has looked very good in High A South Bend. Juice raves about him. Juice, literally, he plays in Juice's backyard. Juice sees him on a regular basis. This team, though, has nothing that's going to come from within to fix it. And we probably already have gotten the understanding this team's probably not going to go external at the deadline to fix it right now. Unless that is truly, you can get Shohei and get him locked up now, and you get him in for the next half of this season. But Angels are in a playoff run. They're probably not going to deal him. He's going to hit free agency, and then it's a bidding war, which, as a Cubs fan, I'd rather have. If you don't have to give up assets and you can still get them, in theory, and all you have to give up is dollars, preferred route. But next year, I think, is when we start to see some of these guys in the offensively in the pipeline maybe be closer to making it some level of an impact, right? They just don't have that right now, and they're going to need to fix that. Trey Mancini's not giving them what they need. Morel finally kind of got the monkey off his back, it felt like, coming into this series, or coming out of this series, I should say. Mervis is still finding his grip. If nothing else, I want to see Morel and Mervis in the lineup every day, because that's just going to help them for next season if they are acclimated and used to and understand what it feels like to play in the big leagues. But you cannot rely on them if you're the Cubs right now. I think that's why Saturday's win was cool, though, because they more or less, with a little bit of help from guys like Tauchman and Madrigal, literally carried the team. Morel had 3 ribbies on 2 hits, the solo bomb as well, and then Mervis put an absolute charge into that ball and sent it out of the stadium. That gets you fired up as a fan. I'm sure that gets the dugout just as fired up. And then, of course, it doesn't hurt when Kyle throws an absolute gem. And you heard Kyle talk on the broadcast today about Miguel Amaya, another young guy who has shown you some of that offensive flair that he can deliver from behind the plate. But he's been calling really good games. He's been catching very well. Hendricks praised him today, saying that they got better as that game went on because Amaya was dialing into how Kyle was throwing, and he's like, "Ooh, let's throw this, let's throw that." That's encouraging as hell. That is exciting. That are things I think from this series, this being a series recap, that I can take away from it and run with it and be excited about that. Now it's just going forward and saying, okay, now we got to build on that. You want guys like Dansby Swanson and Nico and Ian to start showing up here as we creep later into June, right? June 11th. You got London right around the corner here at the end of the month. You have a lot of home games coming up now, pretty much the rest of the way. It's 6 home games, a trip across the pond, and you're back for another 6 home games. It might only be, no, it's 6 home games then when they get back. Absolutely need to get that done. Just make it work. Make it happen. It's cool. It's fine. Scott with another comment here regarding Amaya. Amaya, the everyday catcher, and Gas Money is the DH, is the hottest Cubs hitter? ? I think they're interchangeable, truthfully, Scott. I haven't been mad about days that they want to just get Amaya's bat in the lineup and let him DH. I think Jan is still very important to this group in the sense of what he does from behind the plate and just that wisdom he brings as an older catcher. He knows the staff because of being with most of these guys a year ago as well. That's invaluable. I don't think you just straight up say Amaya's the everyday catcher and Gomes is just never going to catch. I think they should split catching duties, but I think they should both be in the lineup more often than not. I know Gomes hits lefties a lot better than he does righties, so those days certainly want him in the lineup. But I think they can mix and match those two between the DH and catching spots, especially right now. You don't have the depth to have just a true DH right now. Mancini's not giving you that from that type of role. Truly, nor is Patrick Wisdom. And Rios is hurt, back on the IL. So why not? Why not get those 2 in the lineup? They're probably your better 2 bench bats at this point. If you have to, pick from one of the 2, let them both be in the lineup on any given day, and they can just switch off between DH and catcher over the course of the season. I don't hate it. But again, I think to your point, though, Scott, with the comment, Amaya, you're not losing as much with Amaya behind the plate as you could with a young catcher, right? Like sometimes there's instances where it's a young catcher and he doesn't know how to call the staff and it's just doesn't go well, right? That has really not been the case with Amaya when he has been behind the plate. He's looked good defensively. He's been competent defensively from behind the dish. It's just nice knowing you have 2 of those guys, right? With him and Gomes. And then, yes, although his bat is atrocious, Barnhart still delivers, I think, from a defensive perspective. Stroman has applauded and praised Barnhart at nauseum this year as well. So you have 3 really good catchers in that room, especially defensively. And then because of the bats, Gomes and Amaya are your 1 and 1A. And then that still allows you to have depth with a guy like Barnhart in there as well, especially if you get some long games this year and you get some of these long trips and those 2 need a blow on any given day. Yeah, you still got Barnhart in your back pocket. He can catch. He might not give you a lot in the lineup offensively, but at least he's going to give you something decently from behind the dish defensively. So, it sucks watching them get blown out today, but it's really nice to see them get a series victory on the road against a very good Giants team. A nice rebound to the absolute dog shit showing that they put up in Los Angeles against the Angels. And you come off this road trip with, unfortunately, only 4 wins. So a losing road trip. Sadly for the Cubbies, 4-6 here on the trip. But, it really did after that Angels series feel like it could be a lot worse. So it was good to see them rebound and get 2 out of 3 here over the weekend. Wesneski's pitching probably not helping. Just unfortunately, that's the nature of the beast. They got to deal with that for the time being. But they get a insanely well needed off day tomorrow as they fly back now. Probably they're probably still up in the air. Yeah, they're probably still up in the air. They're probably about an hour or two out from Chicago yet. Get your off day in, and then it's a night game against Pittsburgh on Tuesday. First time we get to see the Pirates for this season too. This whole new schedule is weird. We're not seeing NL Central opponents until mid-June. But the Buccos are in town, and the Buccos have been good. They're overachieving. I know everybody, they're going to come back down to earth. This team's not that good. I'll tell you what, folks. I was in Pittsburgh on their opening weekend watching that team live. They got it going this year. They're getting good pitching from especially some of their young guys, and they're doing all this without O'Neal Cruz. Let that be kind of in the back of your mind too. A game-changing level player. We're seeing it right now in Cincinnati with a guy like Elly De La Cruz, who's come up and become an absolute shot in the arm for that Reds team. O'Neal Cruz is the same way for a team like the Pirates. For them to be doing what they're doing without him and without a ton of elite starting pitching, you got to at least applaud them, for what they're pulling off here as it goes. They are in the first spot right now in the division. 34-30 gets that done for them. They're a game better than the Brewers, who are 34-32. And then obviously the Reds are starting to surge a little bit. They're on a 2-game win streak, 31-35 in that third slot. And the Cubs are still a game and a half better than the Cardinals. 28-37 after today. Cardinals, the shitbag Cardinals, might have had 27-39 after that one. And again, this Giants team, not a bad team. Even after their win today, 33-32 on the year, they're currently sitting third in that NL West behind the D-backs and the Dodgers. So you love to see it. Good overall weekend from the Cubbies. Wish Sunday was a better showing. Would have loved the sweep. I know that's getting greedy with this Cubs team this year, but that would have helped, right? That would have split the road trip. You would have come home 5-5. It's a little more manageable, a little easier to stomach and swallow. Pause. That didn't sound good. Apologies there. But just they got the series win. You have to be happy with that. Now take that momentum into the off day. 6 games. 6 games now coming up at home. You got the Pirates and a really good Baltimore Orioles team coming to town between now and this time next week. Got to get it done. Got to get it done. Got to have a winning homestand. Try to beat up this Pirates team. I know they're good. They're better than the Pirates of old. Try to take advantage of being at Wrigley. That is going to be the biggest key for this team right now. You are at Wrigley Field. Take advantage of being in your home ballpark as this team comes to town. Let's look ahead while we're at it right now. Wow, I really need to get my phone fixed, folks, because I could not even see. I can't even see who the starting pitcher is for the Cubs. So we're going to talk through this one and pull this up as we're doing this. Apologies for technical difficulties. The things I have to do with technology, unfortunately, today have not been great. But we are going to go ahead. We are going to look forward. I'm going to pick a Flight W player too when we get to this Pirate series coming up here in just a hot second. But again, reminder. There is no Cubs game tomorrow, so you will not hear from us. However, you will hear from our friends over at Dingers. Be sure to tune in with them right here on the YouTubes. If you aren't subscribed, if you don't have that little bell button clicked on our page, you're not going to know when they go live. I can tell you when they're going to go live. It's going to be around 8:30, at least Central Time. But just go hit it, and then you never have to worry about it. You'll get a little notification on your phone when the boys go live. It'll be a good one. And yes, thank you, Scott. I saw you coming up in the comments. I had just pulled it up a minute and a half ago. But as he says, Ortiz versus Taillon will be Jameson Taillon. So let's look ahead to that game. We will be back with you after that game. I say we as the Cubs on Tap crew, panelists to be determined, but we'll be back with you after Tuesday's game. It is a 7:05 local time start here at Wrigley Field in Chicago, Illinois. As we mentioned, the Cubs and Buccos doing battle. LL Ortiz, the right-hander, 1-2 on the season with a 4.23 ERA, just 16 Ks. He's a youngster. This Pirates team starting to get some reinforcements from their minor leagues. We're starting to see a lot of guys come up for them and make differences. And as noted, it will be the $17 million man, Mr. Jameson Taillon. The righty 1-4, unfortunately, on the year with a 7.02 ERA, 40 Ks to his name. No better time than the present to have a really good start against your old team, Taillon, and it would be a hell of a start to the homestand if he can have a good performance and the Cubs can get some offense against the Buccos on Tuesday. Quickly here from Scott. Appreciate you sharing all of this here in the comments, my friend. Wednesday will be Rich Hill versus Drew Smiley, and then Thursday will be Oviedo versus the Stroh Show. So we will get to see Marcus Stroman here in this series against the Pirates, which then means we will see Kyle to open that Baltimore series back here at Wrigley on Friday. That'll be a nice 1:20 start as well. And you should hopefully hear from us on Friday as well because of that early start. So 4 shows coming from the boys this week following this one and the off day on Monday. Again, I don't really have a ton of preview here. Pitch well and get timely hitting. You're back at Wrigley. Get back to Wrigley. Just like I said in my little tag here on the live stream. Get back to Wrigley. Get back to Wrigley and build some momentum. Build some momentum going into July. All right. Now, because you play every team in the league, the schedule doesn't get easier, and there is no opponent in this NL Central right now that's just going to roll over and die for you. That's just what it is. We're seeing it on a nightly basis. The Reds are no joke now because of the youth and just the infusion of youth, onto that roster that they have. Really, it's the Cardinals, and yeah, we get the Cardinals in London coming up here in a little while. A trip to Pittsburgh before that, which will actually help to make the flight ever so just shorter, about an hour shorter to London for the Cubbies then after those 6 games. And then again, like I said, they're back for Philly and Cleveland coming into the 4th of July weekend. And then a nice little road trip, Milwaukee and the Yankees. So, you look at July, and you got the Nationals on the schedule. You got the Cardinals twice in July. You've got the White Sox, who you're arguably no better or worse than. So, they should be able to beat them in those games. Milwaukee for 4 games. Who knows how that goes? The Yankees are probably the best team, and the Red Sox that this Cubs team sees in July. Cleveland's kind of having a down year. They got to take advantage of it. They got to take advantage of it because you finish the month with Philly coming off the London series. I have a hunch that Tuesday game, they're going to be jet lagged as hell, and they're probably going to lose. So, got to take advantage of the month of July. Get hot now. Start building that momentum so when they do get into July, it's no longer a walk or a jog. It's a full-blown sprint, and they can get some wins back, really heading into the deadline. Does that mean they're going to buy? I don't know. Does that mean they're going to sell? I hope not. I don't think they should sell now, even as it is. I think they should stand pat, if anything, or if you're going to sell small pieces. Don't sell a guy like Marcus Stroman. I've already made my threats here. I don't need to reiterate those. Just get it done. Start building that momentum. Starts Tuesday with the Pirates. Speaking of Tuesday's game, before I get to my Fly the W pick, I have 2 tickets. I can't make the game. You know the drill. You want them? DM me on Twitter. If you can't get to my DMs for some reason, tweet me or tweet at me, and we'll get you those tickets. All right. I got, like I said, 2 of them in the bleachers for Tuesday night against the Buccos. I'm just looking to give them away. I'd rather somebody use them than they go to waste. So the next time that I'll be at Wrigley is June 29th, that last game against the Phillies. Before they play the Guardians of, I guess, technically the holiday weekend, even though July 4th is on a Tuesday this year. So that'll be the next time I'll be at the ballpark, but somebody gets to go in my place on Tuesday. Reach out to me tomorrow. We'll get you hooked up, and you guys know the drill. We've done this a couple times now. So Tuesday, I got tickets. Please spread the word. Somebody take them. I'll be very, very sad if they get wasted. Fly the W pick. I'm going to stop ranting. It's hard. It's really hard right now to pick a Fly the W pick on this team. It just feels like nobody is getting the job done offensively, right? But I'm going to go with a little bit of an off the board, I think, pick here. In my opinion, it's a little off the board. I think Matt Mervis is starting to figure some shit out. And I don't know how much we're going to see him in this series. Obviously, Hill is a lefty on Wednesday. So knowing Ross, they're going to play matchups, but we should see him on Tuesday. Ortiz is a righty. how about a couple of mash bombs from Mervis? I think that would be great in this series. You saw him pick it up in that home run. Just felt like it injected the team with some kind of life on Saturday. It'd be really nice to see him start to get a little hotter. Do I expect him to turn it around and bat 280? Absolutely not. But if he can get that batting average back over 200 consistently, I would certainly be pleased. And I think he and the Cubs and everybody else involved would also feel the same way. So Matt Mervis is my Fly the W pick coming into this Buccos series. And as I mentioned, you will hear from us at Cubs on Tap again on Tuesday following that game. Be sure to tune in with the Dingers boys on Monday because, reminder, folks, Cubs on Tap is one of 2 official Cubs podcasts here for you of the On Tap Sports Network. Again, check out our friends over at Dingers. They're at Dinger Cubs on Twitter and Instagram. They are live every Monday around the 8:30 hour Central Time. They will be live tomorrow as well, so be sure to tune in with the boys. Mitch, Jake, Kevin, Jeff, they do a great job and are very entertaining on the microphones. Be sure to tune in with them live for that show. And then tune in with us because you need to follow us at Cubbies on Tap on Twitter and Instagram. Be sure to follow all the boys. Again, we're back Tuesday. I am at Loose on Tap on Twitter, at Juice on Tap, at Joey Knows Nothing, at Teddy Freddy 270, at Nick_on Tap. I know everybody's probably asking yourselves, hashtag where's Joey? He's around. He's alive. We know he's still alive. But he's been very busy. He's been taking care of some stuff over on the On Tap golf stuff. If you're a big golf fan, be sure to check that out. He and Jack do a great job on that show every week ahead of the upcoming tournaments on the weekend. But he'll be back. You'll see Joey sooner than later. Joey should be at the ballpark as well this upcoming weekend. I believe he has tickets to the Baltimore series. So hopefully we'll see some live content as well from Mr. Ricotta from beautiful Wrigley Field. You know the drill as well at Bulls Guy Rob. Don't forget to follow him. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks. We've got it all. The Bulls got an interesting offseason coming up, so be sure to be following along with them. Bears on Tap. We recorded last week. If you haven't seen the tweet yet, it's because it hasn't been tweeted out from the podcast account. It will go out tomorrow, though. We chatted with Jonathan Wood from the Bears blog in our series going on over there at Bears on Tap. Great show. Be sure to tune into that one as well. And Four Feathers. We have a lot to talk about. We should be live with you on Monday. It should likely be the boss man, the Prez, Mr. Tony Marchese, and myself taking the microphones for Four Feathers. And yes, Cubs fans, again, we all have friends that like the Southsiders. I've got tons of friends that like the Southsiders. I know you do too. Send your friends to our friends and tell them to check out Sox on Tap, as those boys do a good job covering the boys on 35th and Shields. OnTapSportsNet.com, add on Tap Sportsnet on social media, the On Tap Sports Network. Go ahead and check out what's on tap in Chicago sports. I told myself the show was going to be 20 to 25 minutes tonight. I clearly lied as we're at the 48 plus mark, but I hope everybody enjoyed my little solo rant here on this Sunday night after a Cubs series win in San Francisco. The road trip on the West Coast is over. The next latest game you will have for the rest of the season is a 7:40 start against the Rockies in September. West Coast baseball is over for the Cubbies for the rest of the year, and we'll have some more normal show times coming up over the course of the next couple of months. But until then, you won't hear from us on Monday. We will see you guys on Tuesday. Appreciate everybody that tuned in. Appreciate everybody in the comments as well as always. We appreciate the hell out of you guys here for supporting us at Cubs on Tap. I'm going to get out of here the only way we know how here at Cubs on Tap. A big old, this is from my boy down in Kentucky. I hope he's still listening. A big old Paducah Southern, fuck the Cardinals, and let's go Cubbies.